The stars outside the window looked peaceful. They always did from space. Ambassador J1 Kim stared at them from his quarters on the Terran diplomatic ship Unity. He had been looking at stars for 20 years as Earth's representative to the Galactic Council. Tonight, this seemed different. Tonight, everything was different. His hands shook as he held the datapad. The message had arrived 3 hours ago. No sender name, no origin trace, just an encrypted file that had somehow passed through all the ship's security systems. J1 had almost deleted it. Anonymous messages were usually worthless, but something made him open it. Maybe it was instinct, maybe it was luck, maybe it was fate. Now he wished he hadn't. The document on his screen was short, just 2 pages, but those 2 pages contained the end of humanity. It was an official Galactic Council voting record, the kind that was supposed to be sealed for 100 years, the kind that only council members could access. The header was simple: motion for 7 to 1x, complete elimination of species for 1000 to 119. J1 knew that number by heart. Species for 1000 to 119 was humanity. Below the header were the votes: 150 council members, 147 had voted yes, 3 had voted no. The motion had passed 6 months ago. Humanity was sentenced to extinction, and they hadn't even known they were on trial. The door chimed. J1 almost dropped the datapad. "Comin'," he said, his voice rough. Lieutenant Haran Park entered. She was young, only 5 years out of the academy. Her black hair was tied back in a regulation bun. Her uniform was perfect, as always. She carried a cup of tea. "Ambassador, you missed dinner again. I brought you some tea and, sir, are you all right?" J1's face must have shone. Something. Haran set the tea down and moved closer. "Read this," J1 said, handing her the datapad. Rin took it. Her eyes moved across the screen. Once, twice, her face went pale. "This can't be real," she whispered. "Look at the authentication codes," J1 said. "Check the digital signatures. Run any verification you want. I've run them all. It's real." Haran's hands started shaking too. "But why? We've been members for 50 years. We've followed every law, every protocol. We've contributed technology, medicine, art. Why would they keep reading?" J1 said quietly. The second page contained notes from the closed session. Comments from council members explaining their votes. The Zephyrian delegate: humans advance too quickly. They adapt to any environment. They solve problems we thought unsolvable. In 200 years, they could surpass us all. The Altarian representative: we voted against this motion. Humans have shown nothing but cooperation. This is fear, not wisdom. The Regelian council member: their military strength grows each year. Their colony spread faster than any other species. They must be stopped before it's too late. The Saurian delegate: they survived their own nuclear age. They united their planet. They cured diseases we couldn't. They are too resilient, too adaptable, too dangerous. Haran sank into a chair. They're afraid of us. They're going to kill us all because they're afraid. J1 nodded. The execution order was delayed. Bureaucracy, forms to file, fleets to coordinate. We're alive because of paperwork. How long do we have? I don't know. Days, weeks. The document doesn't say. They sat in silence for a moment. The Unity cruised through space at faster than light speed. Round them, the crew went about their duties. 200 humans who didn't know they were already dead. "Sir," Haran said finally, "why would someone send this to us? Who on the council would risk treason to warn us?" "I've been asking myself the same question. The Altarians voted against it. So did the Cetians and the Lyrans. Maybe one of them? Or maybe it's a trap. Maybe they want to see what we'll do." J1 stood up. He walked to the window again. Earth was somewhere out there, blue and green and beautiful. 15 billion humans lived there. Another 30 billion were scattered across colony worlds, all of them going about their lives, working, studying, falling in love, having children, making plans for futures that might not exist. "It doesn't matter who sent it," he said. "What matters is what we do now. What can we do if the council has decided?" J1 turned to face her. For 20 years, he had been a diplomat. He had negotiated trade agreements and solved disputes. He had represented humanity with patience and dignity. He had played by the rules. The rules had betrayed them. "We tell everyone," he said. Haran's eyes widened. "Sir, we can't. Diplomatic protocols state that all council matters must remain confidential." "Yes. And while we follow protocol, they mobilize their fleets. While we file complaints, they target our worlds. While we request hearings, they fire their weapons. But if we broadcast this, it could cause panic riots, war. We're already at war, Lieutenant. We just didn't know it. J1 walked to his desk. He activated his terminal. I want this document transmitted on every frequency we have. Military channels, civilian networks, alien trade routes. Everyone needs to see this. The Council will say it's fake. Let them. The authentication codes are real. The signatures are real. Other species will verify them. Some will believe. Some will have questions. Questions the Council will have to answer. Haran stood up. Her training warred with her survival instinct. Sir, this will end your career. You'll be labeled a terrorist, a fearmonger. I'd rather be a living fearmonger than a dead diplomat. J1 began typing commands. Wake the communications officer. I want maximum signal boost. I want this message to reach every human ship, every colony, every listening post, and the alien worlds, especially the alien worlds. The Council voted in secret. Their own people don't know what they've done. Let's see how the vegan traders react when they learn their best customers are marked for death. Let's see what the Procyon Alliance says when they discover their allies are planning genocide. Haran moved to the door, then stopped. Sir, what if we're wrong? What if this is all a misunderstanding? J1 looked at her. Then I'll apologize. I'll resign. I'll face whatever punishment they give me. But if we're right, and we do nothing, he didn't need to finish. Haran nodded and left, alone again. J1 finished preparing the transmission. His finger hovered over the send button. Once he pressed it, there was no going back. The greatest secret in the galaxy would be revealed. The carefully maintained peace would shatter. He thought of his daughter on Earth. Minyoung was 12 years old. She wanted to be a xenobiologist. She had posters of alien animals on her bedroom walls. She wrote letters to children on other worlds. J1 pressed the button. The message went out at faster than light speed. Within minutes, it would reach Earth. Within hours, it would spread across human space. Within days, the entire galaxy would know. The Council's secret was no longer secret. Now came the hard part. Now humanity had to survive outside the window. The stars still looked peaceful. But J1 knew better now. Somewhere among those points of light, fleets were gathering, weapons were charging. The end was coming. Unless humanity could change the story. Unless the leak could save them all. Captain Dong Hyun Lee was drinking coffee in the bridge of his cargo ship when the universe changed. The Morning Star was 3 days out from Kepler 7, carrying medical supplies and food. It was a routine run. Dong Hyun had made it 50 times. Before his communications officer, a young man named Junho, suddenly sat up straight. Captain, we're getting a priority message from Earth. Maximum encryption. Put it through, Dong Hyun said. The message appeared on the main screen. As Dong Hyun read it, his coffee mug slipped from his hand. It shattered on the deck. Brown liquid spread across the floor. Nobody moved to clean it. This has to be fake, Junho whispered. Check the codes, Dong Hyun ordered. I did, 3 times. They're real. This came from Ambassador Kim himself. The bridge fell silent. 6 humans and 4 aliens stared at the screen. The Altarian navigator clicked his beak nervously. The 2 Centauri engineers exchanged worried looks. The vegan communications specialist turned pale blue, a sign of extreme distress. Captain, the Altarian spoke first. My people, we voted against this. Only 3 species opposed it. We tried to warn your ambassador. But the Council security, you knew. Dong Hyun's voice was sharp, not the details. We knew something was wrong. Secret sessions, closed votes. My government sent protests. They were ignored. The vegan specialist raised a trembling tentacle. Captain Lee, I must contact my homeworld. They need to know. The trade guild needs to know. This is madness. Dong Hyun nodded. Send the message to everyone. Every ship, every station, every world. Within hours, the news spread like wildfire across the galaxy. On trading stations, human merchants watched their alien partners react with shock, anger, and fear. Some aliens withdrew immediately, afraid of being associated with a doomed species. Others stood firm, outraged by the betrayal. On the planet New Sol, Governor Yoon Seo-ken called an emergency meeting. The colony's defense force was small. 5 patrol ships, 1 orbital station, 20,000 ground troops, against a council fleet. They would last minutes. We evacuate, suggested the defense minister. Load everyone onto transport ships. Run for deep space. And go where? Asked Yoon Seo. Every human world is a target. Every ship is marked. We can't run from the entire galaxy. Then we fight. With what? Cargo haulers. Mining ships. Yoon Seo shook her head. No, we do something else. We make friends." She turned to her alien advisor, a Procyon elder named Grex. "Your people have traded with us for 40 years. We've shared technology. We've helped each other prosper. Will you speak for us?" Grex's fur rippled, a sign of deep thought. "Governor, I have already contacted my government. They are disturbed. The council acted without consulting member worlds. This violates every principle of the charter. Will they help us? They are calling for an emergency session. Many worlds are doing the same. The Vegan Republic is threatening to leave the council entirely. The Procyon Alliance is demanding answers. The independent systems are in uproar. On Earth, President Minji Kang stood before the Global Defense Council. The room was packed with admirals, generals, and scientists. Holographic displays showed the positions of human fleets and colonies. Red markers indicated potential council strike forces. "How long do we have?" she asked. Admiral Song stepped forward. "Unknown, Madam President. Our intelligence suggests the council fleets are still in their home systems, but they could mobilize within days. Our military strength, 9 battle fleets, 400 capital ships, 2,000 support vessels. Against the combined council forces." He paused. "We might last a month. President Kang repeated the words quietly. "Not much time to save a species." "Madam President," interrupted the foreign minister, "we're receiving messages from across the galaxy. Protests on Vega, riots on Rigel. The Outer Rim Coalition is calling for council members to resign. The free traders are refusing to work with council worlds. They're upset about lost profits." "No, ma'am. They're upset about genocide. Many species remember their own near extinctions. The Cetians were almost wiped out by a plague. The Lyrans survived a supernova that destroyed their homeworld. They remember what it means to face extinction." In the Andromeda sector, a different kind of meeting was taking place. The free captains had gathered, independent traders, mercenaries, pirates, ships and crews that answered to no government. They met on a rogue asteroid, far from any claimed system. Captain Sung Ho Park stood before the assembly. His ship, the Star Wolf, was known in 100 systems, sometimes as a hero, sometimes as a criminal, always as a survivor. "The council wants to destroy humanity," he said simply. "They say we're dangerous. They say we're a threat. They're right." Murmurs ran through the crowd, humans and aliens, criminals and merchants, all waiting to hear more. "We're dangerous because we adapt. We're a threat because we don't accept impossible. When others give up, we keep going. When others say it can't be done, we do it anyway. The council fears that they should." A Rigelian pirate stood up. His scales were scarred from a dozen battles. "What do you propose, human? Fight the entire council? Even we are not that crazy." Sung Ho smiled. "No, we do what we do best. We survive. We trade. We smuggle. We help others remember why humanity matters. Every medicine we've shared, every technology we've traded, every problem we've solved. We remind the galaxy what it loses if Earth burns." On Nexus Station, the council's headquarters, Chairman Zephyx watched the reports with growing alarm. The leak had spread faster than anyone predicted. Member worlds were demanding explanations. Non-aligned systems were choosing sides. The careful order of 5,000 years was crumbling. "Suggestions?" he asked his advisors. "Deny everything," said the security chief. "Claim the documents are forgeries. The authentication codes are genuine. Other species have already verified them. Then we accelerate the timeline. Strike now, before they can prepare. Our fleets aren't ready. Most of our ships are still in home ports, and if we attack now, we confirm the leak's authenticity." The intelligence director leaned forward. "Chairman, we have a bigger problem. 3 council members are threatening to release their own classified documents. The Altarians have proof of 17 other species targeted for elimination over the past millennium. If that becomes public," Zephix's multiple eyes closed. "The perfect order, the careful balance, all of it falling apart because one human had the courage to speak." Across the galaxy, choices were being made. On the agricultural world of Haven, alien farmers refused to load food shipments bound for council worlds. In the shipyards of Proxima, workers walked away from half-completed warships. In universities on 100 planets, students demanded their professors explain how genocide had become policy. And in the depths of space, humanity's merchant fleet did what it did best. They talked, they traded. They reminded everyone who would listen that humans weren't just warriors or threats. They were doctors who had cured the vegan plague, engineers who had fixed the Cetian orbital platforms, teachers who had shared knowledge freely with anyone who asked. The galaxy was choosing sides, not between humans and aliens, but between fear and hope, between the old way and the new. The council had kept their vote secret for a reason. Now that secret was out, the real question wasn't whether humanity would survive. It was whether the council would. The council chamber at Nexus Station had never been so full. Every seat was taken. The gallery overflowed with observers. For the first time in its 5,000-year history, the session was being broadcast live across the galaxy. Billions of beings watched on screens from the core worlds to the outer rim. Ambassador Su Min Choi sat at the human delegation table. Her black hair was pulled back severely. Her gray suit was perfect. Her face showed nothing. But inside, her heart raced. The fate of humanity would be decided in this room today. Beside her sat Earth's finest legal minds. Professor Jin Woo back from Seoul University. Judge Mi Sun-yu from the Interstellar Court. Admiral Kyung Ho Han from the Defense Ministry. They had prepared for 3 days. They had studied every law, every precedent, every loophole. It would not be enough if the council had already decided. Chairman Zephyx called the session to order. His 12 eyes swept the chamber. His voice echoed through translators in 1,000 languages. We gather to address the unfortunate leak of classified council proceedings. Before we begin, let it be known that revealing council secrets is a grave crime. We will investigate and punish those responsible. With respect, Chairman, Su Min stood. The crime here is not the leak. The crime is the conspiracy to commit genocide. Murmurs filled the chamber. Zephyx's tentacles stiffened. Ambassador Choi, you have not been recognized to speak. I recognize myself. When my species faces extinction, protocol becomes secondary. More murmurs, some approving, some angry. Zephyx struck his ceremonial staff against the floor. Order. We will have order. He waited for silence. Very well. The human delegation may present their concerns, but first, the council will explain its decision. The Saurian delegate rose. Supreme Councillor Sysadok was ancient even by his species standards. His scales were dull with age. His voice carried the weight of centuries. Members of the council, citizens of the galaxy, the decision to eliminate humanity was not made lightly. It was made after careful study, after long debate, after considering all alternatives. He activated a holographic display. Charts and graphs filled the air. Observe. Human expansion rate, 3 times the galactic average. Technological advancement, 5 times faster than any known species. Military growth, exponential. In 50 years, they have achieved what took others millennia. Is success a crime now? Su Min interrupted. It is not about success, Ambassador. It is about survival. Our survival. Sysadok's tail lashed. Every model shows the same result. In 200 years, humanity will dominate the galaxy. In 500, you will rule it absolutely. Professor Back stood. Your models assume we want to rule. They assume we are conquerors. Where is your evidence? Evidence. The Rigelian delegate laughed harshly. Look at your history. You fought wars that nearly destroyed your planet. You split the atom and used it as a weapon. You haven't saying. History repeats itself. We believe you. Our history also shows growth. Admiral Han responded. We united our world. We cured our diseases. We reached for the stars in peace. Judge us by our actions since joining the galaxy, not by our ancient past. The debate continued for hours. Each council member who had voted for extinction spoke. Their reasons were always the same. Fear of human adaptability. Fear of human ambition. Fear of human resilience. The Centauri delegate spoke of mathematical models predicting human domination. The vegan representative worried about cultural contamination. The Arcturian member feared military expansion. Finally, it was time for the defense. Su Min stood again. This time, she did not wait to be recognized. You speak of fear. Let me speak of facts. She activated her own display. Medical advances shared freely with all species. Agricultural techniques that feed billions. Engineering solutions that saved 12 colonies from environmental collapse. Educational programs that have trained thousands of alien students. She walked to the center of the chamber. You fear what we might become. But look at what we are. When the Cetian plague struck, human doctors worked without rest to find a cure. When the Lyran sun went nova, human ships risked destruction to evacuate refugees. When the Outer Rim faced famine, human farmers shared their seed stocks without payment. Pretty words, growled the Rigelian delegate. But words do not change the projections. Your species grows too fast, learns too quickly, adapts too easily. You are a virus in the body of the galaxy. Judge Yu stood slowly. She was old. her hair white, her back bent. But her voice was steel, a virus. No, we are gardeners. We see potential and help it grow. We find problems and solve them. We meet strangers and make them friends. She looked around the chamber. You fear our adaptation. Good. We adapt to help. You fear our growth. We grow to share. You fear our strength. We use it to protect. The Altarian delegate raised a claw. He had voted against extinction. Now he spoke for the first time. May I share something? He didn't wait for permission. Last year, my son was dying, a rare genetic disorder. No Altarian doctor could help, but a human geneticist on Kepler-7 spent 6 months creating a treatment. She asked for no payment, no trade agreements, no political favors. She saved him because she could. He looked at his fellow council members. This is what you vote to destroy, not conquerors, not viruses. People who help because helping is what they do. The chamber fell silent. Then, voices rose from the gallery. Non-council species, independent worlds. They had no vote here, but they had voices. Let them speak. Someone shouted, "We stand with humanity." The council has lost its way. Zephix pounded his staff repeatedly. Order. The gallery will be silent. But the voices continued. After 5,000 years of passive observation, the galaxy was finding its voice. Sumin raised her hand. Slowly, the noise died. Chairman Zephix, members of the council, you held a vote in secret. You decided our fate without our knowledge. You chose genocide based on projections and fear. But there is something your models didn't predict. She gestured. To the gallery, to the cameras, to the billions watching across the stars. You didn't predict this. The galaxy standing together. Old enemies united. Strangers becoming allies. You thought you were protecting the galaxy from us. Instead, you've shown the galaxy what we've always known. She paused. Every eye, every sensor, every consciousness in the chamber focused on her. Diversity is strength. Cooperation is power. Hope is stronger than fear. This is what humanity brings to the stars. This is what you vote to destroy, and this is why you will fail. The session continued for 6 more hours. Arguments were made, laws were cited, precedents were examined. But something had changed. The council's unity was broken. The galaxy's silence was ended. As the session closed, Zephix made one final statement. The council will deliberate. We will consider what has been said. But remember this. We act for the good of all, even if that good requires terrible choices. Sumin gathered her papers. As she left the chamber, aliens and humans alike reached out to her. A touch, a nod, a whispered word of support. The council had explained their reasons. Their fear was now clear to all. But so was something else. Humanity was not alone. The real battle was just beginning. Commander Tai-Jun-O stood at the window of his office on Nova Sol. The colony's defense base wasn't much. 20 ships, 50,000 soldiers. Against a council fleet, they would last maybe an hour. He was calculating defense positions when the air in his office started to shimmer. Tai-Jun grabbed his sidearm. Then he lowered it. He knew this phenomenon. A Celestini was coming. The air twisted and formed into crystal patterns, like bent in impossible ways. Then, suddenly, a figure stood before him. Tall, transparent, beautiful and alien in ways that hurt to look at directly. The Celestines were among the oldest races in the galaxy. They rarely appeared to younger species. Most beings lived their entire lives without seeing one. Commander O, the being spoke. Its voice was like wind chimes made of starlight. I am called Luminous Echo of Dawn. You may use the simpler designation, Echo. Tai-Jun stood at attention. Echo, why are you here? To offer assistance, and to ask a question. The crystalline form shifted. Do you know why the council fears you? They say we're dangerous. That we expand too fast, learn too quickly. No. Echo moved to the window. Its form reflected the stars outside. They fear you because you dream. Because you see what could be, not just what is. The council maintains. You transform. They preserve. You create. That's a reason to kill us. To them, yes. They have kept the galaxy stable for millennia by preventing change. You represent chaos. To their order, Echo turned back to him. But chaos is not evil. It is potential. It is growth. It is life itself. Will your people help us? We already are. In ways you cannot see. Others will help in ways you can. Before Tai-Jun could ask more, Echo faded. The office was empty again. But on his desk was a crystal data storage device. When he touched it, star charts appeared, hidden. Routes, safe harbors. Places the council didn't know existed. On the rim world of Terminus, a different meeting was taking place. The Free Traders Guild had called an emergency session. Ships from 1,000 worlds had gathered. The massive trading station was packed with merchants, captains, and cargo masters. Guildmaster Torx, a four-armed Altarian, stood before the assembly. The council has voted to destroy our best trading partners. They made this choice in secret, without consulting us, without considering the economic impact. Economics, shouted a human captain named Young Suk-han. They're planning genocide and you talk about trade? Yes, I talk about trade. Torx's feathers ruffled, because trade is life. Trade is connection. Trade is how different species learn to need each other. The council forgot this. They see only politics and power. We see families fed, medicines delivered, knowledge shared. A Rigelian merchant stood. What do you propose? Guildmaster, full embargo. No guild ship carries council cargo. No guild member trades with council worlds until they reverse this decision. The hall erupted in argument. Some feared council retaliation. Others calculated lost profits. But Young Suk-han stood on her chair. You want to know about humans? I'll tell you. 5 years ago, the vegan colony on Axis 4 had crop failure. My ship was carrying luxury goods to the core worlds. Good profit, safe route. But we dumped the cargo and loaded food instead. Lost money, saved lives. That's what humans do. She looked around the hall. The council says we're dangerous. Yes, we're dangerous to those who put power over people. Dangerous to those who choose fear over hope. Dangerous to anyone who thinks profit matters more than life. Oldzek, a Procyon trader whose family had been in the guild for centuries, slowly stood. His fur was gray with age. His voice carried the weight of years. I have traded with humans. Since they first reached the stars, they haggle hard, they take risks, they push boundaries. But they also keep their word. They help competitors in distress. They share innovations freely. He paused. The galaxy is better with them in it. The guild stands with humanity. The vote was overwhelming. The trade guild embargo began immediately. In the depths of space, other allies were gathering. The machine collective, artificial intelligences, who had achieved consciousness centuries ago, held their own council. Unlike organic beings, they could meet in microseconds, sharing thoughts at light speed. Unit 77,381. Speaking for the collective, transmitted to all human AI systems. The council's logic is flawed. They calculate probability of human dominance. They do not calculate probability of human cooperation. We have analyzed your history. You integrate, you synthesize, you improve existing systems rather than destroying them. The collective offers computational support and strategic planning. The void touched emerged from their hidden systems. These were beings who had been altered by dark matter exposure. Most species feared them. Humans had traded with them, studied with them, learned from them. Their leader, a being called Shadow Walker, appeared before the human fleet near Proxima. The council drove us to the edges of known space. They fear what they do not understand. You embraced us, traded with us, treated us as equals. We remember. Our ships join yours, on Earth. President Minji watched the reports with growing amazement. Ships appearing at the borders of human space, not attack fleets, allied vessels. Protectors, Madam President, reported the defense minister. We're receiving support from unexpected sources. The Outer Rim Coalition has pledged their defense fleet. The Independent Systems Alliance offers bases and supplies. Even some council member worlds are breaking ranks. Which ones? The Altarians have declared neutrality. They refuse to participate in any action against us. The Cetians are demanding a new vote. The Lyrans have recalled their ambassador from Nexus Station in protest. In the asteroid belts of Sol System, miners found something else. Ancient defense platforms, dormant for millennia, suddenly activated. They broadcast in an unknown language, then switched to Earth Standard. Greetings, humans. We are the Sentinels. We were placed here by the first ones before the Council existed. We were told to wait, to watch, to protect those who would bring change to a stagnant galaxy. We have waited 60,000 years. The time has come. Admiral Song studied the scans. These platforms, their technology is beyond anything we've seen. Energy weapons that could crack moons. Shields that could stop a supernova. How many are there? Thousands, sir, hidden throughout the solar system. All activating now. On Nexus Station, Chairman Zephix received report after report. The galaxy was choosing sides, and more were choosing humanity than the Council had ever imagined. How is this possible? He demanded. We offered them order, stability, safety. His advisor, an ancient Arcturian, spoke quietly. Perhaps they prefer freedom. Perhaps they're tired of order without growth. Perhaps they see in humanity what we've lost, which is hope. Chairman, the humans give them hope. As the day ended, the odds had shifted. Humanity was still outnumbered. The council still had vast fleets. But humans were no longer alone. From the depths of space, from hidden worlds, from ancient powers long forgotten, help was coming. The council had made one fatal error. They had assumed others shared their fear. They had forgotten that the galaxy was vast, diverse, and full of those who remembered what it was like to face extinction. And those beings had decided that humanity was worth saving. The Hall of Deliberation had never seen such a gathering. Built to hold the original council of 50 species, it now overflowed with representatives from 300 worlds. For the first time in 5,000 years, non-council members had been invited to speak, to vote, to decide the future of the galaxy. Ambassador Hai-Jin Yoon stood at the center of it all. She was young for such responsibility, only 40 years old. But President Kang had chosen her for this moment, not for her experience, for her vision. Fellow beings of the galaxy, Hai-Jin began, her voice carried to every corner of the vast hall. We gather not to judge the past, but to choose the future. The question before us is simple. What kind of galaxy do we want? Chairman Zephyx sat in his traditional place, but his authority was gone. Around him sat council members who could no longer meet each other's eyes. Their secret was exposed. Their power was broken. The council acted to protect stability. The Saurian delegate insisted one last time. Without order, chaos reigns. Without control, destruction follows. Hai-Jin turned to him. You speak of control. Let me speak of cooperation. You value order. We value growth. You fear change. We embrace it. She activated a holographic display. Images filled the air. Humans and aliens working together. Medical teams fighting plagues. Engineers solving impossible problems. Teachers sharing knowledge. Farmers feeding worlds. This is what you voted to destroy, not because we're conquerors, but because we're catalysts. We don't just adapt to the galaxy. We help the galaxy adapt. We don't just solve our problems. We solve everyone's problems. The Altarian delegate stood. He had been one of 3 to vote against extinction. I call for a new vote, not about humanity's fate, about the council's future. Murmurs filled the hall. This was unprecedented. The council had existed for 5 millennia, its structure unchanged, its power absolute. An elder from the Outer Rim Coalition rose. Her species had never been allowed council membership. Too young, they were told, too primitive. Now she spoke. For billions, the old way is finished. Secret votes, hidden agendas, decisions made by few that affect many. We propose a new charter, open sessions, equal representation. No species marked for extinction without public trial. And who would lead this new order? Zephyx asked bitterly. Humans. Hai-Jin smiled. No, we would serve, not lead, as would all species. Leadership by rotation, decisions by consensus. Power shared, not hoarded. The debate lasted 3 days. Ancient treaties were examined. New proposals were drafted. Some council members fought to preserve their authority. Others, seeing the inevitable, joined the reform movement. On the 3rd day, the Celestini called Echo appeared. The ancient being rarely involved itself in politics. Its presence meant something momentous was happening. The first ones left us a message. Echo announced, to be opened when the galaxy reached a turning point. That time is now. A hologram appeared, the being of impossible beauty and age. Its message was simple. To our children's children's children. We built the council to preserve peace. But preservation is not growth. Peace is not stagnation. When new voices arise, listen. When change comes, embrace it. When fear divides, let hope unite. The galaxy is ready for its next chapter. The message faded. Silence filled the hall. Then, voting began. The old council structure, dissolved by overwhelming majority. The new Galactic Assembly, approved with only 12 dissenting votes. The extinction order against humanity, revoked unanimously. As the results were announced, something extraordinary happened. Species that had been enemies for centuries stood together. Traders and warriors, scientists and mystics, organic and artificial minds united in purpose. Chairman Zephyx rose for his final statement as council leader. He looked older, tired, defeated, but perhaps also relieved. We were wrong, he said, simply. We let fear guide us. We forgot that diversity is strength. We forgot that change is life. May this new assembly learn from our failures. He stepped down. The council of 5,000 years was ended 6 months later. Jin Wubek stood before the first session of the Galactic Assembly. The human engineer had been elected as its inaugural speaker, not because humans had demanded it, because 300 species had nominated him. He looked out at the assembly. Every seat was filled, every species represented. The hall buzzed with energy, with possibility, with hope. Friends, he began. The word carried meaning, not subjects, not subordinates. Friends, we start a new chapter today, not human dominance, not council control, but true partnership. He activated a display showing the new structure, rotating, leadership, transparent decisions, open debates, regional assemblies, equal voice for all. The old council feared humanity would conquer the galaxy. They were wrong. We don't want to rule. We want to build. Not empires, but bridges, not weapons, but solutions, not alone, but together. In the gallery, former Ambassador J1 Kim watched with satisfaction. His leak had nearly cost him everything. Career ended, reputation destroyed, but it had saved humanity. More than that, it had transformed the galaxy. Beside him sat Haran Park, now promoted to full ambassador. Do you regret it? She asked quietly. Breaking protocol, ending my career, risking everything? J1 smiled, not for a second. On Earth, President Min Ji-king addressed humanity one last time. Before stepping down, the crisis had aged her, but her eyes were bright with pride. We faced extinction. We found hope. We were marked for death. We chose life. Not just for ourselves, for all who would stand with us. Today, humanity takes its place not as conquerors, but as partners in a galaxy reborn across human space. Colonies that had prepared for war now prepared for peace. Defense fleets became exploration vessels. Military bases became research stations. Fear became friendship. The Sentinels, ancient guardians who had protected Earth, sent their final message before returning to dormancy. The test is passed. The vigil ends. The future is yours to write. In the depths of space, the machine collective, calculated probability matrices, all showed the same result. The galaxy would change, grow, evolve. The static perfection of the old order would give way to dynamic progress. On border worlds, species that had never cooperated began joint projects. The void-touched emerged fully from their isolation. The free traders expanded their roots. The independent systems joined the mainstream of galactic civilization. And humans did what they did best. They adapted. They solved problems. They built bridges between species that had been separated for millennia. They shared knowledge freely. They faced challenges with optimism. They turned former enemies into allies. The council had voted in secret to erase humanity. They had failed, not because humans were stronger, but because the galaxy was ready for change, ready for growth, ready for hope. In the Hall of Deliberation, now renamed the Hall of Unity, a plaque was installed. It bore a simple inscription. Here ended the age of fear. Here began the age of cooperation. May we never forget the lesson. In diversity lies strength. In unity lies hope. In courage lies the future. The stars beckoned, and for the first time in 5,000 years, all species would explore them together. The secret vote had failed. The galaxy had chosen, and its choice was hope.